The grieving father, whose 4 children, estranged wife and mother-in-law were all shot dead inside their rural home in a suspected mass murder-suicide, has spoken out for the first time since the tragedy. Aaron Cockman said his 4 autistic children, Tay, 13, Rylan, 12, Ari, 10, and Caden, 8, looked peaceful in their beds after they were allegedly shot by their grandfather Peter Miles. In an emotional address to media outside the Margaret River Police Station Sunday, Mr. Cockman chillingly claimed Peter Miles had made a calculated decision to murder 3 generations of his family before committing suicide. "Peter didn't snap. He's thought this through. I think he's been thinking this through for a long time," he said. "All these kids died peacefully in their beds. The police officer that went through, he said they looked all peaceful. How the hell Peter did that I still can't figure out, but if someone did it, he did a good job, he did a really good job." A stunned Mr. Cockman spoke candidly about his ongoing custody battle with his estranged wife, revealing he had been cut off from his children 6 months ago and was desperately fighting to get them back before the massacre. "I used to drive around town just hoping to see them, but that anger I felt is gone," he said. "If it wasn't for Kate's parents and the whole turnaround, I'd still be with her and the kids." He said he was frustrated with his estranged wife's family after being denied the right to see his children, "but this is not how I'd want to get back at them. This is a whole new level. The anger towards them now is completely gone, completely gone." Mr. Cockman said his parent-in-laws were not the people you want to get on the wrong side of, and that before being cut off from his children, he and Mr. Miles were best friends. He, Peter, was an awesome man, before all this blew up. "I haven't talked to them since they cut me off from my kids. I don't feel angry. I feel tremendous sadness for my kids. But I don't want anyone to feel angry. Anger will destroy you. I'm tremendously sad, but I'll get through this." Peter was said to have sounded strange the day before he allegedly shot 3 generations of his family before taking his own life on their remote Forever Dreaming farm in Osmington, Western Australia. Neighbor Richard Dosser said he spoke to the 61-year-old, who was found with a bullet wound as he lay slumped in a deck chair on the veranda, about doing farm maintenance work on his property. "He was, just not someone who I would have thought was keen to find a new client or customer," Mr. Dosser told the West Australian. "He didn't seem enthusiastic, if you know what I mean." Police confirmed the 3 firearms located at the scene of the murder-suicide belonged to Peter and that he was a suspect of shooting dead his wife Cinda Miles, 58, their daughter Katrina Miles, 38, and her 4 autistic children, Tay, 13, Rylan, 12, Ari, 10, and Caden Cockman, 8. In a press conference on Saturday, Western Australian Commissioner Chris Dawson said 2 officers attended the scene shortly after receiving a 000 call from a male, thought to have been Peter, at the Osmington property, where all 7 family members lived, at 5:15 a.m. on Friday. The call lasted 2 minutes. He would not confirm if Peter, who once worked at Margaret River Senior High School as a farm manager, made the call. However, investigators are not looking for any other suspects. A neighbor told ABC News he had spoken to a man who lived at the property just hours before the bodies were found. "I was talking to him on the phone last night. I was going to ask him to come over tomorrow. He seemed very vague," he said. Just 2 days before the shooting, the grandfather posted an ad looking for vineyard and farm work on Gumtree, the Australian reported. "I have over 30 years farming experience and over 12 years vineyard experience," Peter wrote. "I have extensive handyman abilities and experience with a wide variety of farm equipment, can repair fences, and tidy up on the property from storm damage. I have lived in the Margaret River area all my life and welcome all inquiries." Commissioner Dawson would not confirm rumors that the murder-suicide was sparked by financial hardship. He said the children's father, Aaron Cockman, a local builder who is estranged from Katrina, has been informed of the tragedy and was devastated. Despite sharing on Facebook last month that her ex does not stop stalking her, police have confirmed that Mr. Cockman is not a suspect. The grisly murder-suicide at the property, 15 kilometers from Margaret River, shocked the nation and has become Australia's worst mass shooting since the Port Arthur massacre in 1996. Katrina is thought to have homeschooled her 4 children at the farm after they moved there when her marriage broke up. Peter and Cinda bought the farm in 2014 and planned to live a sustainable life with their daughter and grandchildren. Commissioner Dawson on Friday described the incident as a significant tragedy. He said a male person had phoned police about an hour after nearby residents woke to the sound of gunshots. "Based on what we do know, this is clearly a tragedy. Police located 7 persons deceased. 4 children and 3 adults, he said. Another neighbor, Felicity Haynes, told Daily Mail Australia that Cinda and Peter had moved to the countryside to build the sustainable farm as a home for Katrina, her daughter and 3 sons. Cinda and Pete moved out from town 3 years ago. They had started to build a river farm and had done fabulous work growing their own vegetables and building dams, she said. That's what makes it so tragic. They were building a self-sustainable farm to raise the family there. A friend of Katrina told The Australian she worked tirelessly to provide her children with everything they needed. I always admired her for her strength. The kids were kind, gentle, smart and beautiful children. Her mother Cinda was an active member of local community group Transition Margaret River, which seeks a happier and more sustainable future. The well-loved local also owns a craft company, Soft Salvage, where she turned recycled materials into decorative pieces, news.com.au reported. On the farm's website, Cinda Miles wrote of watching her grandchildren play with the animals. Forever dreaming is our forever farm. It is here that we will grow as much of our food as we can, sit on the veranda and watch the birds, and watch the grandchildren immerse themselves in the animals and everything else that happens on a daily basis, she wrote. Police were met with horrific scenes when they arrived at the 30-acre farm with 2 houses on Friday morning. Nearby residents said they heard gunfire around 4 a.m. but dismissed the sound as coming from kangaroo shooters. Another neighbor who lives across the road from the property told Fairfax he hadn't heard anything unusual. There was nothing much I could tell, police, said the semi-retired farmer, adding he didn't know the residents very well. I'd seen who I assume was the father out in a paddock one day, on a tractor. But I didn't have the opportunity to say hello. Julia Meldrum, deputy president of the Shire of Augusta Margaret River, told Daily Mail Australia the district was in deep shock. It's devastating, the distressed mother of 2 said. It's just shock and devastating for the community. I actually feel like vomiting. The Shire has a population of 14,000 people but each town is very close-knit. Jan Walsh told Australian Associated Press they lived in a very caring town. There's retired people who live down here, there's ex-farmers, she said. It's just a wonderful place to live and everyone's so friendly. You wave to everyone coming down Osmington Road and you don't even know them. In Margaret River there's a lot of children and a lot of young families. It'll be devastating for the community. It's touched many people I'm sure will know one another. The Shire will be doing whatever we can to provide support and whatever else we can do in addition. I've got young children as well. It's just devastating. Shire President Pamela Townsend said the town would struggle to come to grips with the horror. It's an isolated rural area. There's no center of town. Everyone comes into town to do their shopping, she said. There's a lot of giving each other vegetables, cooking each other meals, looking after each other when they're ill, very connected in deep ways. Everyone's involved in everyone else's business in a small town, so it's going to be a huge shock for this town. The Shire will provide as much support as we can for our town, for the community and for the remaining family members. There are community members already rallying to work out a support response for the family. We're already seeing this rallying. Councillor Townsend believed the deaths should lead to further debate about gun and family violence. Once again we are faced with this problem in families with gun violence and male violence, assuming it is male violence, she said. We need to have it firmly on the table to talk about it and not just have it as an isolated mental health issue of one person. It's society's problem. Osmington, about 260 kilometers south of Perth, is a 10-minute drive east of the Margaret River Township. The tiny community, which ABS data shows has about 135 residents, mostly consists of farmland properties and vineyards.